Alright, today's video is going to be going over omens in Path of Exile 2. Now, these are items in the game that essentially change the way that crafting currency works, and then some of them are kind of like you can just have them in your inventory to lose less XP and stuff. But we're going to take a look at all of them today and just see what each one does, what they're capable of. And I have a lot of them here. Some of them I did not buy because some of them are very expensive, but we're going to pop those ones up on stream when we get to it and go over how those work and why they might be so expensive. Okay, before we get too deep into omens themselves, we actually need to talk about affixes in Path of Exile. So I have a ring here with 6 affixes. Now, affixes consist of prefixes and suffixes, so you can have a maximum of 3 prefixes on an item, which are these 3 top mods here, and you can have a maximum of 3 suffixes on an item. So if you hold Alt on your item, it's going to show this, and you can see prefixes right here, suffixes right here. You can have 3 of these max, and sometimes you can get hybrids that are going to have 2 mods in one, but those only count as 1 suffix or prefix, so then you could have technically 4 total, although it is really just 3. So with that being said, let's move on to what some of these omens do. The first omen we have here is Omen of Sinistral Alchemy. Now this one is going to affect the way that the Orb of Alchemy works, because normally this will just upgrade a normal item to a rare item with 4 mods. However, with this one, this is going to make it so that the item will result in having maximum prefixes. So if I use this and then I use my Orb of Alchemy on this ring here, it's going to guarantee that I hit 3 prefixes. So let's go ahead and try it out. You do have to right click omens to actually make them work. That's kind of an important note here. So you want to right click it, you'll see it lit up like that, and then we use our Orb of Alchemy on the gold ring. And if we look, you're going to see that we have hit 3 prefixes on this, okay? Now it only gave us 1 suffix, but that's because the Orb of Alchemy only adds 4 modifiers. So now, as you probably guessed, the next one on the list is the Omen of Dextral Alchemy, and this one is just going to do the same as the last one, except it's going to give us the maximum number of suffix modifiers. So let's go ahead and do that. And you can see we get 3 suffixes and 1 prefix here. So now, the next one we're going to talk about I actually don't have, so I'm going to pop that up on the stream right now. And it is the Omen of Sinistral Annulment. This omen allows you to remove only prefix modifiers when you annul an item, and annulment is going to remove a random mod, but if you use this omen, it will focus only prefix modifiers. This can be pretty strong, especially if you have like a base that has perfect suffixes and you don't want to like risk losing one of those suffixes, but you need to fix the prefixes. That's why these are so expensive, and it essentially allows like target crafting on an item. So moving on, we have the next one we're going to pop up on the stream, which is the opposite of that one, is the Omen of Dextral Annulment, and that one is going to do the same, except for it's only going to remove suffix modifiers. Also very strong for the same reasons. So now we're going to move on to the next one, which is Omen of Greater Annulment here. Now this one is just going to make it so that your annul will remove 2 modifiers instead of 1. So essentially you're just using 2 annuls whenever you use this. It's nothing too special or crazy. And then next we have the Omen of Whittling. And this one actually makes it so that a Chaos Orb removes the lowest level modifier on an item. So if you have an item that has, let's say, 5 tier 6s and 1 tier 1, which is the lowest mod in this game, it's kind of the opposite of PoE 1, this omen is actually going to make it so that whenever you Chaos Orb, it's going to remove that tier 1 guaranteed, and it is going to add a modifier as well. So this is like a pretty strong way to target craft an item. Obviously, that's why it's so expensive. Which leads us to the next one, which is the Omen of Sinistral Erasure, or Erasure, however you say that. Which just makes it so that Chaos Orbs can only focus on prefix modifiers. They will only remove prefixes. It's kind of similar to the Annulment one that we talked about before. And then if we move on to the next one, it is obviously the opposite of that, which is the Omen of Dextral Erasure. And that one will only focus on suffix modifiers. Okay, and then if we move on to the next omen, we have the Omen of Amelioration, which is pretty strong. Used this one a lot in PoE 1, haven't used it in PoE 2 yet, but this one prevents 75% of XP loss when you die. Now, if you are using this and you have it in your inventory, you need to make sure that it's right-clicked, because if you die and it's not right-clicked, it's not actually going to work. So you need to make sure it's lit up like this one is. It needs to be lit up in your inventory when you die for it to actually work, so keep that in mind. Alright, and then next up we have the Omen of Dextral Exaltation, which is going to be Exalt Orbs can only add suffix modifiers. So if we look at this here, we have an item with 1 prefix and 2 suffixes. So if you were to just slam an Exalt on this, I mean, chances are you have a 2 out of 3 chance of hitting a prefix and only a 1 out of 3 chance of hitting a suffix. So if you really want a suffix, you can go ahead and use this Omen here and an Exalt, and you're going to hit your 3rd suffix, and you can't hit a prefix, which can be pretty nice in certain situations because this Omen is actually not super expensive. So now we're going to move on to the next one, which is the Omen of Sinistral Exaltation, which just does the opposite. It makes it so you can only add prefix modifiers. And then we move on to the Omen of Greater Exaltation. I don't really see the point in like buying one of these because they cost about an Exalt, and it just makes it so that your Exalt adds 2 random modifiers. So, I mean, you could just slam 2 Exalts, and it's going to do the same thing. But if you happen to drop one of these, I mean, you could use it to save yourself 1 Exalt, I guess. So, kind of nice in certain situations. Maybe solo self found this is kind of useful. And then we move on to the next one, which is Omen of Resurgence. This one is going to make it so that if it's in your inventory, you will fully recover life, mana, and ES whenever you reach low life. Next up, we have the Omen of Refreshment, which is going to fully recover your flask and charm charges when you reach low life. So that you could use, I don't know if you can actually use 2 together. It looks like you might be able to, but I'm not. I know you can. It says only 1 Omen can be triggered from combat in each instance. So you can only have 1 of these Omens trigger in an instance. If you're using an amelioration, you probably don't want to use these 2 because I don't know how it determines which one gets picked. Next, we have the Omen of Dextral Coronation, which is going to do the same as the Exalt and the Alchemy ones, except for it's going to do it for Regal Orbs. So your Regal Orb is only going to add suffix modifiers or prefix modifiers, depending on which one you use, which is going to be these 2 here. And then the last Omen we're going to pop up on the stream here is the Omen of Corruption. Okay, now this one seems pretty interesting right now. There's not a ton of information out there about it. However, there is a little bit. From what we understand so far anyway, this Omen actually can get rid of the nothing roll from happening. So essentially, whenever you corrupt an item or a unique item in PoE 2, you have 4 different outcomes that can happen. You can either roll modifiers, positive or negative, on the unique, or you can add a corrupted mod, or you can get a socket, or you can get nothing. So from what we understand so far, if you use this Omen and you Val Orb a unique, from what we can tell, you actually cannot hit the nothing roll, which means that you're guaranteed to either roll the modifiers, add a corrupted mod, or get a socket. So that is why this Omen is so expensive and sought after, and it could be used to really make it easier to just get a good unique in general. Yep, that is basically the wrap-up of Omens in general, and if you guys have any questions, leave them below. I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.